Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Najili, and today we're going to talk about the things that you can do to help your children learn the language. And this is the diasporan edition. And I'm going to split it slightly for those who can speak Ga themselves, and so they're teaching their children, and those who are also on their journey to learning Ga and what they can do. So for those parents who can speak Ga, you are in an extremely fortunate position in that you can raise your child speaking fluently the Ga language. And if we look, like I have mentioned before, if we look at the groups and the societies that are doing very well in this world, the majority of the next generation, irrespective of where they are born, can speak the language. So my thing is to make it a priority. Make it so much a priority that there is no other option but to speak. The way we invest in our children to make sure that they're respectful, they don't give things with their left hand. The way we invest in our children to make sure that they're the best in terms of education. We hire after school teachers, we hire after school, like we put them in after school club. The way we practice with them, the things that matter to us, we need to apply the same level of energy to speaking the language. I find it personally very hard to understand how these other groups of people whose children don't have 2 or 3 heads are able to speak the language fluently, but for us, for some reason, they can't. Like, what is it? And for me, if you look at these other groups, the culture is very obvious in the home, and they take pride in their culture, and they see their language as extremely important, as essential. So they invest in it in a way. You can't be in the house and not speak because it interrupts the daily life of the house. Whereas I don't think that applies the same in GaDangme households. So I would say to give it like a real priority, real extreme priority. If it is your priority for your child to speak the language and is as high as a priority of the other areas in your life, there's no way your child will grow up not speaking, because how are they going to communicate with you? Especially if you're a fluent Ga or Dangme speaker. So for those who can speak, I think number 1, speak to your child in Ga or Dangme, always. The other one, for those of us who don't speak, the majority of us are first generation in the UK, so that we have parents and grandparents that speak the language. So I would say to tell your parents and tell your grandparents to speak to your children only in their language, only in Ga or only in Dangme. I know I've heard a lot of stories. Like I know of a couple of Turkish people actually, because I'm in London. So I know a couple of Turkish people whose parents were again born and raised here, but they always tell you that they speak to their grandparents in Turkish because that's the language they're speaking. And their children knows the language, not because their parent taught them, but because their grandparents taught them. So most of us, I think the significant majority of us, are either first or second generation Ghanaian. We have a grandparent or a parent who speaks the language. And so I feel that you should put more, again, make it a priority. Let your parents know how much of a priority it is that your child speaks the language, and then speak to them to say, please only speak to my child in Ga or Dangme. I know when I was learning the language, I straight up told my parents, only speak to me in Ga. And they did. And my grandma's very much the same. To this day, I speak to her in Ga. And that's one of the most significant reasons to why my Ga has improved over the years. And that is because I have people to speak to, and I have no choice but to speak to in that way. Now, unlike 20 years ago, when I was growing up, longer than that, we didn't have that many resources to speak the language. Unfortunately, I'm finding that in terms of the Dangme, there still isn't that many, and there could be more, and we need to develop more. But even in the UK, there are a lot of Ga resources available for various age groups. So one of the ones that I actually took the book off my niece, that I got for my niece, is Learn How to Write and Speak in Ga and English. And it is an activity book, if you can see, where you've got morning, lebi, afternoon, shrane, evening, beke, night, beke, tomorrow, wa, today, mene, and then it tells you how to pronounce it. Now, what I would say is, if you make it fun, and so what you do is you'll say, okay, fill in this bit and we'll go through it. And then you keep reminding them over it, especially when it comes to like the time. So there's a time section. So when it gets to that time, based on what they've learned, you ask them, okay, so what time is it now? What time is it now? And when they know they're going to be not even tested on it, but ask questions about it, make it a fun learning experience, they're more likely to pick it up. So I know that my niece, for example, started on the alphabet, because one of the things is I feel like if you understand the alphabet, you can read it even if you don't know what the word means. So once you understand the sounds, because I find when you read Ga, it sounds like how it is written, except for some of the elements of the negative tones. It sounds like how it's written. So you can learn to read it before you even understand what the words say. So I would say that you've got this, and my nieces, I got one for my 6-year-old niece and when she was 6, and then I've got the other, I think I got it from when she was 9, 10. So those are the age groups, and they find it interesting. So I think around about that age you can use this. Another one that I've got for this was my Christmas presents for this year for my godson and my nephew is the Ga cards. So I've put a video of what they look like. And basically it's Ga learning cards on the house, the body, and animals. And that, again, just how you would teach the child to speak English and you've got those learning cards, it's the same concept, but this time in Ga. The only thing that I've noticed is that the way they've spelled Bomocho is slightly wrong. So you might have to check through the spelling of some of the words, because I think they put GH rather than GB in terms of Bomocho. So most of the other words are correct from what I've seen. So you can use that as a basis for learning. In the case of Dangme, we have technology nowadays that we're able to create our own cards. So I have seen parents create cards for their children using what they know. You could purchase yourself a Ga or Dangme dictionary and create your own cards. I have subscribed to Canva, which is what I use when I'm doing my thumbnail for this video. When I do any graphics you see pop up, the majority of them are from Canva. You can use that to create your own cards. Then you laminate it, you cut it up, and then you use that to teach your child. Where we haven't got the resources yet, we have to be kind of innovative. So at the moment, I'm grateful that we have these resources to teach Ga, for example, but we can have more. And where we don't have it in Dangme, we can make it. These, I'll give you some examples of some of the games and stuff that I used to create at that time. I don't even know what I was using, my pages to kind of get graphics and create these games and stuff. So you can make it fun and create games where they can select the right option. And I'll give you examples to the side of the video of what I have previously done. So where it is not available, you can create it. There are resources there that you can create. And I think another element of making it fun is bilingual storybooks. So one of the books that I know that's written in both Ga and English. So where there's an English page, there's a Ga page. So you can read it in Ga and the translation is in English, and the child can put the two and two together, is Na Oyo's Komike Kinasani. Hey, can you imagine? Komike Kinasani. And you can get the hard copy book. Again, I'll put the link, but I've got the e-version. So again, I could put the link for you to go purchase your version, very reasonably priced, but you can turn it into a storybook and make it fun for the child. And then there are storybooks, general storybooks that are either the main character has a Ga or a Dangme name, or the storyline is based on Ga or Dangme culture. I think it is really important, because I know for me, one of the reasons why I really immersed myself in learning about my heritage is that my grandma told me some stories that made me think GaDangme was your utopia, or Ghana was like a utopia. So when she left to go back, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn more about this. And it made me want to learn more. So these stories help create a beautiful narrative around our heritage and culture that will make our children want to engage it, so we don't feel like we're always having to force them all the time. So what are their bedtime stories? Who are the characters in their bedtime stories? How does it highlight our culture? There are a lot of stories where the main character either has a Ga or Dangme name. I know I will put the title of the website out there where you can order the storybook straight from Ghana, and they will deliver it to you wherever you are in the world. So they deliver it via DHL, and they've got a range of storybooks. You can have ones completely in the Ga language. Again, we need more Dangme books. Admittedly, we definitely need more Dangme books. So if there is any resources out there that I currently do not know about, please do let me know. If we need to create resources, maybe there is some way and we can link you to an association that can help make those things happen. So again, there's lots of resources out there where, not lots, there are a number of resources out there, but where there isn't enough, we can create. We can use our minds and our innovation, and we can create. If you are struggling, do get in touch with me. I am the GaDangme online on Gmail, and I can see where I can help, or if there is a way that I can assist you in terms of developing some of these materials. The other thing, and is free, is YouTube. There are a number of YouTube channels that I love that teach the Ga and the Dangme language. So Ga is very good with the graphics and teaching the Ga language. And oddly enough, the creator of Ga, Naoyo, also wrote the book Komike Kenasane and is a Ga language teacher. So she is brilliant, and her videos are great in terms of learning the Ga language. So you can play those YouTube videos constantly. Hunaya Your Highness TV does a lot of Dangme language videos. So if you are interested to learn and you're looking at the videos, you can play and interact with your children and to learn from that, or you can ask them to watch it and then test them based on what you know of the video. But this is a very much a do it together kind of thing. You have to invest in the time with your child and actively learn. And I think this is also very helpful for those parents who are also trying to learn the Ga or the Dangme languages, because you do it together with your child. And you would have an understanding based on your age and your wisdom. You will catch on to it quicker, but by learning with your child and having a study partner, you're both going to develop your understanding of the Ga or the Dangme language. The other thing is there are classes available. I know a lot of the associations run classes. I know in the UK we have the Ghanaian language schools, which has level 1 and level 2 Ga. Not in the case of Dangme. Now, if there are enough Dangme students in London or who are willing to travel to London, I can speak to a Dangme association here to arrange classes in order for you to learn the Dangme language. The other option is also to hire a private tutor. So I know there is a learngaintree.co.uk, and there is a Ga teacher there, Nick Bakwa, who I have personal experience of teaching Ga, and he's brilliant. In Canada now, you also does private Ga lessons, so you can reach her on Afro Literacies Foundation, and she also does private Ga lessons. But if there is enough, if I get people who are interested in learning the Dangme language, I know a couple of Dangme teachers in Ghana, and a couple of people willing to teach Dangme in the UK, and I can help facilitate and make that happen, because I think that one-on-one and also the group learning setting is really great. So if you are interested in your children learning Ga, then they can go for level 1 in the Ghanaian language school. They can go through learngaintree.co.uk. They can go through the Afro Literacies Foundation and have Naoyo be their teacher, or you can hire them on one-to-one and have a private lesson. If you're interested in learning Dangme, I can speak to certain people and see if one of the Dangme associations here will help facilitate a Dangme learning or language lesson. And I think as well, to be honest, with technology, we could arrange Zoom classes. So if you're anywhere around the world, I think if we can get a decent group of people together, I will help facilitate. That's what I'll say to you. I will help facilitate the Dangme language lessons. Another thing is to make the environment home-wise, create an environment where to go around your everyday life, you'll pick up Ga naturally. And what do I mean by that? I've mentioned it before, but for example, I've labeled where I know the Ga words for it, I've labeled a lot of my foods with the Ga word. So I've labeled the food, but also Yellow Mango Press have come out with a calendar for the year. And I think having that calendar will help you, because if you're going to have to mark your birthday, if you imagine going through the whole year looking at this calendar, there's no way at the end of the year you won't recognize Juju for sure. You know what I mean? You will remember it. Okay, this is Ju. And then you go back the next week, you have to mark something. Then you go back the next week, the jewel will stick in your head. The jufo will stick in your head without you intentionally having to learn it. But just the action of marking dates as you would normally do will do that. If you're cooking, give me the so, give me the omo, give me the ashkin sha. So eventually, by the end of the year, what would you do? You will know what soy is. You'll know what, how to say rice. You'll know what flour is. You'll know what all these different ingredients are, because they're labeled around your house, and in the course of your daily life you're seeing it on a regular basis. Make it so that they're seeing signs of the Ga or the Dangme language on a regular basis. I have done also an e-version of that before, and I'll give you an example of what I previously did for both the Ga and the Dangme. But essentially what I'm saying is, if I was to go to your house, one, could I tell that you were Ga or Dangme? Is there anything in your house that will tell me that you're Ga or Dangme? Like, am I seeing any signs in your house? And am I seeing, like, now we can create stuff. So welcome mats, there's ways to create welcome mats, and you can put more here there. A sign for welcome. I have a cricket machine, so I do lots of like signs and symbology. And one of the things I'm looking to do next is to create a welcome mat and have more here on it, which is the Dangme word for welcome, but we as Ga people also use more here as well, occasionally, or awawa too. So when I go around your house, when I'm making my breakfast, when I'm, doing certain things around the house, will I at any point engage the Ga or the Dangme language? And if not, is there a way that I can engage? You can make it so that I can engage the Ga and Dangme language. I know, for example, sometimes people have the word toilet where the toilet is. Maybe you can write the word siafi instead. Maybe we can create, you can get those alphabet stickers and you put siafi on there. Maybe when you go into the living room, asano. When we go to the kitchen patashi, for in the case of Ga, or we do the same thing but for Dangme. Like I said, if your priority is for your child to speak the language, you will be surprised at the innovative ways you will make it so that the Ga language is present. At the end of the day, they might not even speak it fully, but if they understand it, their journey to speaking it is much easier. So what is the environment in the home? What is it saying? One of the things I've done, for example, is these are my coasters. I've put Ga symbols on there and Adashi. Because at the time I created it, that Adashi was my favorite symbol. I have another one now. But when I'm in your house, can I go around your house and can I see and can I tell where you're from? And does that reflect? Because if the child is raised in an environment that celebrates GaDangme culture, they're going to likely will be encouraged to learn the GaDangme language. They will be encouraged. If we see the words, the Ga and Dangme words, they're going to be encouraged. So how are you incorporating the language in your house? If you have to, do you have to label stuff around the house? This is how we say chair. Put the label on the side, chair. This is how we say table. Put a label, table. If your child is struggling, it's like when our children are struggling in mainstream education, you see the vim that you would change your house and make sure they have invested study time because you value education. Do you place the same value on learning the language and let that shape what you do around the house to make the environment conducive to learning the language? And then there's outside. So I'm in the UK and I know for a fact that in the UK there are several Ga and Dangme as well as GaDangme associations dotted around the UK. There's several in London. I've been to the one in Bristol several times. I know there's a few Milton Keynes one in Milton Keynes that does Homoa and so on. So there are associations around that, and then start engaging, start becoming a part of it, start attending the Mayem events, start attending the Homoa events, start attending these events and getting your child immersed in the culture, because that's going to make them more likely. When you hear the language, it's going to make them more likely to try and understand. And sometimes they ask you, Mom, Dad, what are they saying? And then you translate for them. Mom, Dad, what are they saying? And then you translate. And if you're one of the people that understand and someone asks you, or because sometimes it'll be like, Mom, Dad, what are they saying? And they don't know what you're saying. So they might ask you, can you please translate? Don't be offended and don't get angry, because the job for our community to learn the language is a job for everyone. Like they say, a village raises a child. So it's up to all of us to come together to make it our priority that our next generation learns the language. So if a child comes up to you, doesn't understand what you're saying, or an adult comes up to you and doesn't understand what you're saying, be willing to translate. or you did this speech. Can you tell us what this word meant, or can you translate what the speech was, etc.? And be willing, because the child is learning. Don't dismiss them. Don't be angry. Don't be bothered, because you discourage them and they won't do it next time. So join. There I have a link on my website that lists the associations. If your association is not listed on there, please let me know and I'll list it, and then we can have a directory of all the associations that are around, and then you can join the nearest one to you. I know there's one in Australia. I know there's one in Canada. I know there's a few in the US. There's quite a few dotted around Europe. I know there's one in Italy, German, Belgium, France. So there are GaDangme associations dotted around. So if you can join your nearest one and then be involved in their activities. The other thing is that if they have enough people, they can help shape and develop according to the needs of the group. So if it is that you want more children's classes, the association can come together and create more children's classes. So hopefully I've given you some ways to help with the Ga and Dangme languages. I'm going to link the resources. So the resources I've mentioned, like the Ga books, the Ga cards, Canva in order to create your own cards, the YouTube pages. I will link all of those in the chat so that you can start following those pages and engaging those pages, and buying those resources in order to kind of help your children to speak Ga. If you